Yeah. Mm. Look, I saw the signs, but I stayed. Thought we was solid. Thought love was safe. Yeah. Look how it changed. Look how it changed. Same smile, same face, but it don't feel the same. Said it was love, but it came with a chain. I gave my heart and got left with the pain. Look how it changed. Look how it changed. Cold in the room, but they speak on my name. Build up the trust, then you turn it to blame. I saw the truth, and I'm saying it plain. Sure, started off smooth, everything sounded righteous. Strong with the words, made the pressure feel timeless. I was 10 toes, really moving in alignment. Whole time pride had control behind the guidance. Said trust me, I lean in heavy. Held my tongue, trying not to look petty. Every red flag came soft and subtle. Didn't hit loud till it turned to trouble. One little shift, then another one came. One small moment, then nothing the same. Watch how the warmth start switching to cold. Watch how the truth start slipping and show. Had me questioning what I could feel. Acting like pain wasn't actually real. Try to be calm, try to keep it respectful. Whole time being ignored was expected. Tell me why. Every time I spoke up, it got turned back like I did too much. Tell me why I kept trying to hold us while everything cracked and folded up. Folded up. Yeah, folded up. Look how it changed. Look how it changed. Same smile, same face, but it don't feel the same. Said it was love, but it came with a chain. I gave my heart and got left with the pain. Look how it changed, look how it changed. Cold and cold room, but they speak on my name. Built up the trust, then you turned it to blame. I saw the truth, and I'm saying it plain. Pressure on pressure, kept trying to bend me. Say one thing, then act different against me. I stayed solid, still gave grace plenty. Whole vibe changed, but they still wanna tempt me. Move too slick with the image and optics. Public face clean, private side toxic. Everything polished till truth get exposed. Then suddenly, everybody acting like ghosts. Nah, I remember the tone, I remember the look when the mask got shown. I remember the silence, cutting like steel. I remember exactly how all of it feel. Now, I ain't covering nothing no more. Truth on the table, I'm shutting the door. You had the chance when I gave you respect. Now every chapter gon' come with receipts next. Look how it changed. Same smile, same face, but it don't feel the same. Said it was love, but it came with a chain. I gave my heart and got left with the pain. Look how it changed, look how it changed. Truth coming out and it's breaking the frame. I stayed quiet long enough through the rain. Now I'm speaking and they gon' remember the name.
Before everything I've been sharing, there was a beginning. And if I'm being honest, nothing about it felt wrong at first. Back in February of 2023, I was injured at work. That injury affected my dominant hand. And from that point on, my life looked very different. I was disabled, I was waiting on 2 surgeries, and I was already receiving disability by the time he came into my life. So when I say he knew exactly what condition I was in from the beginning, I mean that literally. He knew I was vulnerable. He knew I was in pain. He knew I was in a season where I needed stability. And he knew I was trying to rebuild my life while dealing with a major physical injury. I met the deacon through his varsity class. At the time, my dad already knew him, respected him, and had even been counseled by him before. My dad trusted him, and my dad actually referred me to him for spiritual counseling before we ever met in person. So from the beginning, there was already a level of trust there for me. Not just based on how he presented himself, but because of who vouched for him. At that point, I wasn't looking at him like a stranger. I was looking at him like someone my father respected, someone established, someone with leadership, someone I believed could be trusted. I ended up volunteering to help with this class, making shirts and helping with graphics and logos for the varsity. That's how we started interacting more. Then eventually we started talking every day. That was around June of 2023. And pretty quickly, I told him everything about my situation. I told him about my injury, that it was my dominant hand, that I was disabled and waiting on surgery, that I had recently moved back in with my parents in San Diego because I was no longer working. I told him about the business I had been building the last couple years, making handmade crafts, graphics, vinyl shirts, and trying to grow something on my own. I was very open with him, and he saw everything. He knew my credit was strong, around a 778. He knew I had very little debt outside of my car. He knew I had savings. He knew I had investments. He knew I had a 401k from years of working. And he knew I was receiving disability while trying to rebuild after my injury. So when I say he understood exactly what position I was in, I mean he had a very clear picture from early on. He knew what I had built before meeting him. He knew what I had access to, and he knew how vulnerable I already was physically and financially. At the time, none of that felt dangerous to me. I trusted him. I saw what I believed was strong leadership. He came across confident, structured, and very sure of himself. He had a presence that made it feel like he knew exactly who he was and exactly what he stood for. And in that season I was in, that felt grounding. Because when your own life feels uncertain, someone who appears deeply certain can feel safe. And it wasn't just how he carried himself, it was how he made me feel. With him, I felt chosen. I felt seen. I felt like I was talking to someone with direction, someone who knew where he was going, someone who could lead. And in that season of my life, that meant a lot. He put in effort. He came to visit me, and we spent time together in person for the first time in July of 2023. Looking back now, there were already things that felt off, but at the time I brushed them aside. One thing I remember clearly was feeling confused about donations being collected from followers to supposedly support ministry travel, things like the hotel and the rental car, when in reality, a large part of that trip was centered around coming to spend time with me. At the time, I pushed that feeling aside. I told myself maybe I didn't fully understand how everything worked. Maybe I was overthinking, and maybe there was context that I didn't know. But looking back now, that was one of the first moments where something didn't fully sit right. Still, overall, that visit made everything feel more real. He was consistent with how he had been presenting himself. He was intentional. He was serious. And it felt like the relationship was genuinely going somewhere. Then we started courting. And with that came promises. Not small promises either. Big, life-changing ones. He talked about investing into my business, helping it grow, building something bigger together. He asked me if I had applied for any type of credit lines under my business. I told him no, I hadn't looked into that, but that I did have large limits on my personal credit cards. I just didn't use them because I didn't have a way to pay it back. He told me I would be taken care of, that I wouldn't have to worry financially, that I could rely on him, that I can trust him. And a part of why that felt believable to me was because I was also being told that he was already established, that he was a six-figure individual, that he had everything handled, that he didn't need anything from me. So from my perspective, I wasn't stepping into something unstable. I believed I was stepping into something already built, something secure, something I could safely trust. And there was another layer to it too. He also made it clear that as his wife, I would be required to give him my money, that he would oversee the finances, that he would make sure everything was handled and paid. And because of where I was already at physically and financially, I didn't interpret that as a red flag. I saw it as stability. I saw it as leadership. And honestly, it felt like a relief because I was already in a position where I couldn't fully rely on myself the same way I used to. So hearing someone say, I got it, I'll handle it, you can trust me, it felt comforting. There were bigger plans being made too. Telling my family, talking seriously about the relationship, moving to Washington, starting a life there, and building something together. And there were smaller things too that at the time I interpreted as closeness. He encouraged me to get an iPhone. At first, it was framed around FaceTime communication and staying connected. But once I got the phone, there became an expectation that I share my location with him at all times. And if I didn't, it became an issue. There was also an expectation that I ask before giving my new number out to anyone, and he would regularly ask who had access to me. At the time, I read all of that as closeness, like we were serious, like he was invested, like we were building. Looking back now, it felt more one-sided than I realized then. And when you combine all of that, the effort he was showing, the promises he was making, and the way he made me feel, and the season of life I was already in, it created a situation where I trusted him fully. So I started moving accordingly. I started making decisions based on what he said our life was going to look like. And I really want people to understand what that looked like financially. I was not some wealthy independent woman casually handing over extra money. I had already become disabled before I met him. I was surviving off disability while waiting on surgery and trying to rebuild my life. The money I was receiving was supposed to help me survive one of the hardest seasons of my life. And over time, I ended up trusting him with not only my monthly disability payments, but also my savings, my investments, my disability back pay, and financial resources I had built before I ever met him. And in this series, I'm going to break down exactly how extensive that became, because it escalated fast. By August of 2023, I moved to Washington. And once I relocated, everything changed. I was no longer in the same environment. I was no longer around my support system. I no longer had the same level of independence I had before. And by September of 2023, we were married. Looking back now, that happened very fast. But when you're in it and you trust the person and you believe what they're saying, it doesn't feel fast. It feels intentional. It feels right. And I think that part matters, because when people hear later how much I trusted, how much I gave, or how quickly things moved, I think it can be easy to look from the outside and assume I was reckless. But that's not what it felt like. I believed I was making thoughtful decisions based on trust, based on what I was being told, based on what I believed we were building. And because of that, I moved with confidence. I trusted what I was hearing, and I trusted him. And that's how it started. Not with obvious warning signs, not with chaos, not with a dramatic collapse, but with trust, with consistency, with promises, with feeling chosen, with feeling like I was stepping into something stable. And what I didn't understand at the time was how fast everything was about to escalate. Financially, emotionally, and practically. Because once I got to Washington, things started moving very quickly. And in the next episode, I'm going to get into the first red flags I ignored and how trusting what I believed we were building ended up costing me over $60,000 and changing my financial life completely.
I'm such a real nigga. I don't give a fuck. You can send this shit to fucking vocab alone. You fail to realize one thing is that I dedicated my life 15 years, and women have tried to destroy me before, and it didn't work. So you can record all you want and send it to vocab, Sonetta. I don't give a fuck. Like, you think you recording something that's gonna stop me from talking?
So
I'm talking,
why do
or
you
being like how I'm being?
So why do
That's
you
not
care
good.
if I recorded it then? Why do you care if I recorded it then?
Take a picture of it, sign it,
Why?
and send it to whoever you want. I don't give a fuck.
Then why do you care? Why are you making it a big deal then? Why are you saying anything about it? Just because the only reason why I said that?
I never fucked with a
It's clear. You never did any of the stuff that you're doing with me with anybody else. That's why I'm in the situation that I'm in and nobody else is.
Fold it up. Yeah, fold it up. Look how it changed. Look how it changed. Same smile, same face, but it don't feel the same. Said it was love, but it came with a chain. I gave my heart and got left with the pain. Look how it changed. Look how it changed. Cold and go to room, but they speak on my name. Built up the trust, then you turned it to blame. I saw the truth, and I'm saying it plain. Pressure on pressure, kept trying to bend me. Say one thing, then act different against me. I stayed solid, still gave grace plenty. Whole vibe changed, but they still wanna tempt me. Move too slick with the image and optics. Public face clean, private side toxic. Everything polished. Polished till truth get exposed. Then suddenly everybody acting like ghosts. Nah, I remember the tone, I remember the look when the mask got shown. I remember the silence, cutting like steel. I remember exactly how all of it feel. Now, I ain't covering nothing no more. Truth on the table, I'm shutting the door. You had the chance when I gave you respect. Now every chapter gon' come with receipts next. Look how it changed. Same smile, same face, but it don't feel the same. Said it was love, but it came with a chain. I gave my heart and got left with the pain. Look how it changed, look how it changed. Truth coming out and it's breaking the frame. I stayed quiet long enough through the rain. Now I'm speaking and they gon' remember the name.